Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from DeltaCX.com. We're a full service CX and UX consultancy. We do CX and UX projects, training, and lots of consulting. And hello, Solomon, and welcome to the Think Out Loud episode 32. This will be in the Think Out Loud playlist. And I'm sorry I still have COVID, so I'm eating a Ricola. Not sponsored by Ricola, just thankful to them for helping me out today. And this is going to be among the new types of Think Out Loud shows that we do. So there's going to be a live brainstorming that we're going to do together, and we're going to be in a Miro board together. So once I give you the foundational information, we're going to jump on it. Love it. Low ego. Wish it was more of that. Yes. Thank you, unnamed LinkedIn user. Sorry, my system doesn't always pull in people's names. And I do want to give a special thanks today to the people who are supporting the channel. Yes, I haven't updated this list in a couple of weeks. I should. But really, extra thanks to all of you today, because today I paid for another year of licensing my streaming software. And thanks to you for donating to the channel through the YouTube Join program. That helps have me, give me a little money to do that. So thank you. Hello, Manuel. And Nadu, hey, how have you been? Okay, so we started with episode 31 being a new type of Think Out Loud program. And again, you can send in stuff for the Think Out Loud programs if you'd like. Just go to deltacx.com/links, and we'll be doing them every other Monday. And we're going to do the same as last time, but with a new problem statement. So we're going to start with a problem statement that I've created. Now, again, we would normally want to do research, but we don't have the time during a 1-hour show to do good generative research, so we're just going to think about what questions good research will answer, and then we're going to do a little brainstorming around the problem space. These are techniques that you can use in your work and your job, and I hope you will. There are also techniques I go into in my new book, Customers Know You Suck, which you can pick up on Amazon. You can also pick it up on my website in the digital version for as little as $1. That's cxcc.to/CKYS. I should guess point this way. All right, so I'm going to jump into the Miro board. If you jump in there too, don't do anything yet. Please don't do anything yet until I tell you what we're doing. Hello, Joel, if you're American, or maybe Yul, if you're more Dutchy. Help me out, everybody, with your name pronunciations. So I'm going to jump over to the board, and you can all join me there too. Let's see if I press this button. I've been rebuilding my vMix system a little bit because the new version came out. Okay, here we go. Here's me. And do I still have the tip jar up? Yes, optional tip jar, chat room, and my screen. So you can join this Miro board at deltacx.link/ and then as all one word, Think Out Loud 02. And I think I can copy and paste that into YouTube, but not, hi Janice, how you doing? But not so easily into LinkedIn. Less Dutchy, more American. Okay, Joel it is. Okay, so this is the problem statement we are going to start with. And by the way, if you like what we're doing and you like the boards, you can grab them at cxcc.to/Miro, M-I-R-O, and you can get some blank boards and you can try these out yourself. So today's problem statement has to do with building furniture that doesn't come pre-assembled. Hi, Malika. Some of you have been to an IKEA. Some of you have never heard of IKEA. And basically, it is a store where, among other things, you can buy furniture, but it all comes flat in a box and you have to put it together. Very often, this is a frustrating experience. You don't always have all the tools that are required. The instructions are sometimes hard to follow because they draw pictures and many screws and boards look the same. You end up using the wrong part in step 7. Oh, thank you, Daniel. Thanks for the congrats. You end up using the wrong part in step 7, and you don't realize it until you are way through a lot of steps. And then at that point, it's either very hard to take the furniture apart, or you have to spend time taking the furniture apart. And all of this is very difficult. So we're going to be taking a look at the problem space of how could it be better for users and customers to build their own furniture. We're going to brainstorm a little bit about this, but first we're going to look at what kind of impact can a problem like this have on the users and customers themselves and on the business. Because very often in our jobs, teams aren't always inspired to make things better for customers unless they can see how it helps the business. And the Delta CX impact map, which I go into in chapter 18 of my new book, is one way that you can do that. Now, I've started filling this out, but we're going to work on filling this out together. You're welcome to be in the Miro board and typing some stuff, or you can type it in the chat room in LinkedIn or YouTube, and I'll put it up for you. Janice says, doing all right. Excited about your new format. Yeah, we did it once before. This is the second time. All right. So in the Delta CX version of an impact map, which is different from impact maps you'll find if you Google about impact maps, we start with what is the customer's problem? What is the customer's need? So in this case, building IKEA furniture is harder than IKEA makes it look. First of all, is there anybody joining us live who has had trouble building IKEA furniture or any kind of unbuilt furniture? Give me an emoji or something in the chat if you are feeling this project today. Now, again, just because you've had this problem doesn't mean you are the user. Use that as domain knowledge, but don't build what you want. So let's make sure we stay focused on all customers in general who might have this problem and not just your own experiences. Solomon's going to be telling us stories about the furniture that never happened. So after we take a look at the problem from the customer's perspective, so this is not the business's perspective. This is not, I wish more customers built their furniture better because it would be better for the business. This is what's the customer's problem. Yeah, Ralitza says me. And Solomon says, I'm going to order some today. Okay, cool. Yeah, not sponsored by IKEA. I don't work for or with them. This is a totally made-up project based on something that Cherish posted in the Oh My God Bad CX channel of our Slack community. And of course, if you want to join our Slack and or Discord, they're totally free. You can do that at deltacx.com/links. Okay, so what are the root causes? And again, this normally implies that we have done some sort of research already. We have some sort of understanding about why this problem is happening. If we don't know this or we're not sure, then we should be doing research. But for the purposes of our show, we're going to be doing a little bit of guessing and assuming. But remember, in your work at your job, please do not guess and assume. Everything should always come from good research. Always, always. I will never want to see anybody skimp on or skip research. So I've taken my own assumptions or guesses at some root causes as to why people struggle to build the furniture. First of all, the tools you need might not be included. Hello, Narjas? Yeah, Ralitz is right. Forget about required tools might not be there. You might be missing some parts. So let's add that. Parts missing. Yeah, well, I mean, that could be incorrect parts. That could be short apart. So yeah, great. So first of all, required tools might not be included. You might need a hammer. They don't give you a hammer. You might need, I've needed a drill to build IKEA equipment because they forgot to drill a hole where there was supposed to be a hole. You don't get a drill. And next, I said, parts not clearly labeled, you're supposed to match it with the drawing. But very often, a lot of the, ew, Shashank, don't move all our stuff. Very often, parts look the same. Is it this board or that board? Is it this screw or that screw? So parts are not clearly labeled. You're supposed to match them up with the picture, and that doesn't always go well. Okay, go for it, Shashank. Next, illustrated directions might not make a direction or motion clear. So if you have to screw something in or twist something in a certain direction or fix something, it might not be clear what is the direction or the motion you need to do. Ooh, everybody's adding more stuff. This screen's getting out of control, but let's see. Hello, Alia. Next, I wrote, instructions try to be language agnostic. You know, ultimately that works for IKEA in that anybody can build this, whether or not you speak a particular language, but it can also work against IKEA and the user because you wish you had some clear, detailed instructions, and there's usually no words there because they're trying to make it appeal to a broader audience. Alia says, I'm new here. Is this a collaborative exercise? It is. You are welcome to put some comments here, and I'll write them in, or you can visit deltacx.link/thinkoutloud02. So yeah. Oh, and I've got some private messages popping up. We'll just cross those out. And I see, and by the way, if you want stuff to go to 2 lines, just hit, on my Windows machine, it's Control-Enter, and that might help you with this. Yes, the lack of words is frustrating. Exactly. It's great that they are being more global, but you also kind of wish you had some clear instructions. We have parts missing. We have anxious about lack of extra instruction or support that clears doubt. That's right. You might have some anxiety that, oh my gosh, I have to build this and I can't even get support if I want it. So there's a lack of support there, which can go with user anxiety as well. Now, is that a root cause of the customer's problem? I'd probably not put it here because it's not really a root cause, but it is a real part of this larger picture. It's definitely part of our problem statement and our details around the problem. So I'm not sure that this is really a root cause, but I would certainly say that this is a true statement. So I'm just going to kind of grab it for a moment and move it out of here just because it's not a root cause, but it's certainly something. So I'm just going to paste it on the top, and we would just need to find another. We could probably add it to our problem statement that because of this, people have anxiety about building IKEA furniture or about not being able to get support, stuff like that. Ralitza says, by the way, one more thing that's a root cause, you need more than one person. That's not always clear. That's a good one, too. That could also go in the bucket of you don't have the right tools, and it might be you don't have the right number of people. Certainly for some of these big bookshelves, you have to stand something up and hold it while you hammer something else in. You're right. That can take 2 people. So, yeah, so we can add that as well. Let's see, and I'll write, excuse me, everybody, I still have COVID. I am still coughing. I apologize for that. More than one person job. Let's just put it simply like that. Cataline says, there are parts where you can place them on the correct side on the opposite without realizing it. That's right. Some parts, and again, I'm just going to use that as, parts not clearly labeled. Let me move my root causes thing over here. So all of these are root causes. And remember, hypothetically, you know it's a root cause because if you fix it, it should fix the customer's original problem. It's one of the ways that we can make sure that we are really solving the correct problem, the original problem. So hypothetically, if we solved one or more of these, it should fix the original problem and problem statement of building IKEA furniture being harder than IKEA makes it look, or difficult or frustrating, or obviously for some people nearly impossible. Cataline said, had this problem, had to undo a few steps and then turn the piece upside down. Right, exactly. And that's where I put this root cause, which is even the illustrated instructions don't always make the direction or motion or side or facing clear. So I think we got a lot of good root causes here and a couple of side notes about the anxiety and the frustration, because those definitely do speak to people's experiences, but they're not really a root cause of the problem, but they do add color here. Next, what we want to look at in the Delta CX impact map is how does this affect the business? Because remember, the companies we work for, either in-house or as a consultant or an agency or freelancer, they want to know what's in it for them. Why should IKEA make changes to how their stuff gets built or their instructions are done? What's in it for them? Where are they losing money or losing customers on the way it happens now? Now, of course, if we work for a place, then we do some internal research to see if we can find what is that internal business impact. Are we getting a lot of customer support complaints? That's over here. Are we getting a lot of negative voice of the customer, angry tweets, people giving low ratings or reviews of things because they had trouble building it? Maybe a certain item on the IKEA website has terrible ratings because people had trouble building it, and now other people don't want to buy the item because they're believing the reviews. Is the company burning a lot of money in customer support calls or chats where people are complaining about having trouble building or failing in building? These all cost the company money, and this is what we can use internally to convince our teams and the company that this project is worth pursuing, whether it's a UX project or a CX project or a service design project. We don't know for sure yet. We just know right now there's a problem that we could be working on. I also put over here for business impact, frustrated customers might not buy from IKEA again. They might say, well, it was great to save money, but I wanted to throw this bookcase out a window. I don't want to order from these people again. So can you think of anything else? Again, pretending that we work for this company and pretending we could find inside information. What are some things we might want to look for or learn about that would tell us where in the company they are losing something they want? Customers, money. Those are usually the top ones. Loyalty. Customers, money, loyalty. These are the things the business wants. Part missing. Business impact is extra shipping cost for that part. Great one. Let me write that one in over here. That's a good point. That if, let's see, costs of replacement, and missing parts. Totally great point, Shashank. Thank you so much. That absolutely costs the business money. If somebody says, you know what, this was defective, I'm going to bring back the whole bookcase to you because I was missing a little wood peg, or this part wasn't correctly drilled and I couldn't build the thing. That's waste. That's also, and I'm going to put it over here, there is the environmental waste. If IKEA is creating things from wood and metal and other stuff, that's resources that are precious. And if they have to end up burning it or throwing it away or trying to melt it down and turn it into something else, that could be environmental waste or internal costs for the company that they would probably love to reduce. So thanks so much to Shashank for great critical thinking there and reminding us that these are some places where the business is probably losing time, money, customers, anything that would help it make revenues and profits. Ralitsa says, I couldn't assemble one of the parts because of defects as well. Yes, exactly. So, having to replace those parts, having to provide support to the people having this trouble. All of these are business impacts, because remember, it's not enough to go to your team or company, excuse me, and say, hey, customers are frustrated. Nobody cares. They want to know, how will the business make money, save money, look up costs of poor quality. How do we save on those? So this impact map helps us map those out. And again, great if you have internal information on real numbers. Wow, IKEA had to burn 9 zillion tons of wood last year because of defective returned products. Wow, look at the environmental impact of that, or what it cost the company. So if you have that internal relationship, we're pretending today, but pretend that you could put a real number on this and do it. Put real numbers on your Delta CX impact map. Shashank says less retention rate of customers. Yeah, that would be over here. Frustrated customers might not buy from IKEA again. Hey, IKEA customer support, do we have any numbers on how many people said they wouldn't or did or then really didn't buy from us again because they had a frustrating experience? Hey, did anyone survey customers and find that they haven't bought recently because they don't like building the furniture? There's got to be ways that we can know this stuff and be able to put some real numbers on it. So again, make sure when you're doing a Delta CX impact map, when you get to these business impacts, put as many real numbers as you can on this stuff. Ralitza says negative word of mouth is reputational damage and people complain on social media. Yeah, that's right. And some of that is hard to measure, but what if a very famous person complained and they have tens of thousands of followers and they got tens of thousands of likes or reshares or retweets, whatever it is? This stuff ripples out. So again, we don't have numbers because we're only pretending to work there, but get numbers on this stuff. And then you'll also want to get numbers on the last part of the Delta CX impact map, which is your KPIs and OKRs. Now, directly connected to the thing above it, what are we going to try to create and how are we going to measure it to know that we are solving this problem? So we might say we want to see, be conservative, a 3, and I'm making this up, but you have to do what works for your company or project, a 3% increase in return customers. So people buying again. So maybe there is, maybe we will say that's one of our possible KPIs, is that because of the project we're going to do to make building furniture easier, we believe that we'll see 3% more returning customers. Start conservatively. It doesn't have to be 20% more. Be conservative. What kinds of things do we think we could do here? Well, maybe we could say there is a 10% decrease in support tickets about difficulty building. And again, I'm making these up. We're pretending we work here, but if this is your real job and project, put in real stuff. What do you think, conservatively, what is a change that you can make that you know saves our company time and money? Hey, fewer customer support calls and chats definitely save our company time and money. Could we decrease the number of tickets on this specific topic? If we could, it helps make this project worth the time and money we would put in. What about this one? Replacement and missing parts. Now, some of this has to do with, and I'm guessing here, this is all fake project just to try out some stuff. What if we could see a lower defect rate coming off of the production line? So what if we would like to see 30% fewer defective items? What if part of this project isn't just digital design? What if we're really taking a more holistic look at how this company works and we're saying we have to do better. We have to have fewer defects coming off of our factory lines. We should not be selling people so many defective packages that are not drilled correctly or are missing parts. So what if we had fewer defective items rolling off the factory line? That helps our customers solve their problem, and it should help our company save money because we will have higher quality. Alia says, do we have a furniture assembly service here is this not everywhere in the world? Yes, there certainly are furniture assembly services, but that doesn't solve this problem. That is a solution in that if you don't want to build the furniture, you can get someone else to do it. But whether the furniture assembly service could be having these same problems, they could still end up with a defective package that was drilled incorrectly or is missing parts. So using a furniture assembly service might not solve some of our root causes and core problems. So the solution here isn't tell people to use a furniture assembly service. Not everyone can afford that. Not everyone has them close by, and it doesn't really solve a lot of our root causes. Because if you look at our root causes, none of them are get someone else to do it. Even if you get someone else to do it, that we still have these root causes in play. So just be careful that some of your potential solutions do make sense, but might not really address the root causes, because even a furniture assembly service could run into all of our root causes and the problem. So good point there. How about the environmental waste? What are some things that we could be measuring to know that we've done a better job for environment and resources? I would hope that IKEA is tracking how much stuff goes to scrap heaps or is sold off as scrap metal or ends up on a wood burning pile or ends up in a landfill. So, I don't know what those numbers are. We're pretending we're making them up today, but let's imagine we had access to those numbers, and let's imagine that we want to say 10% less tonnage. Did I spell that right? Is it 2 N's or 1? Going to landfill. I'm just making it up. Maybe there's a different number. Maybe there's a different environmental improvement that saves this company time and money. I'm making this up. But these are the types of things that we want to map so that we can go to our company or team and say, see, this project is worth doing. We have these root causes. We have these impacts to our business. And here's some things that we can improve, even in conservative ways, that will save this company time, money, resources, environmental damage, and other things. Is this making sense so far? Is everybody getting a feel for the Delta CX impact map? We'll move away from it for now because the show is half over and we still have 2 more exercises. So these shows will tend to run late. They'll probably be more like an hour and a half. Janice says, can you talk about the 3% increase in return customers? I know if I'm satisfied buying furniture, I typically don't go back for a while because I'm good. Is that why the percent is rather small? My percent is small for a couple of reasons, but remember, we're thinking IKEA here. So if you're happy with your bookcase, you might go back for a nightstand. So it's not completely wild that you're going to come back for something. It's not like I bought the kitchen sink and I don't need another kitchen sink. I like to use small numbers because I want there to be a conservative change. I don't want to promise something that I don't think I can deliver. I don't want to say, oh yeah, 20% of people are going to buy again. If that is my standard, I'm probably going to fail. And then someone's going to say, oh, we didn't meet our target. Our target was 20% return customers. We only got 5. But if I say, hey, how about we shoot for 3% more customers coming back, and then we end up with 2.5%, 3%, 5%, that looks like a success. So for me, the number is small because I want to make a small conservative change for this project just to show that we're going in the right direction. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. But again, the number should be whatever your team thinks it can reasonably deliver and successfully deliver. If you really feel that you can make a 5% increase in return customers just by solving the furniture building problem, you could say 5%. But yeah, conservative. All right. We're going to slide over to the right, and I am going to unhide this next board. So follow me over to this next board, which is collaboration during research planning. Now we're going to imagine, now that we've done our Delta CX impact map, it's time for our researchers to plan research related to solving this problem. Because remember, we have some ideas, we have some root causes, but we have to admit, there's a lot we don't know about this problem. We can't really start solving this problem until we know more. So we're going to imagine that there is some generative or exploratory or discovery research that we're going to do before we try to come up with solutions. Yes, many teams and workshops go straight from a problem or an impact map to the solution, but that is a lot of risky guessing. So join me here, and this is a great exercise to do with your cross-functional team. You want to do this with product managers and owners, engineers, stakeholders. Let's get everybody together and let's see, what do we know and what don't we know? That way we can see, are there unanswered questions related to furniture being difficult to build that we need to explore before we can brainstorm solutions? Maybe we've recently done research and we know all there is to know. Cool. Let's document that here. But chances are there are some things we don't know, and we'll want to do the research with whatever method will help us out. So join me over on this other board to the right. And let's imagine we work at IKEA and we want to see, what don't we know about how and why furniture is so difficult to build? What are unanswered questions we have? So for example, I'm going to take a sticky note. And notice, by the way, clever people in the audience will notice all four of these kind of say the same thing. So I don't usually move people's stickies to a different quadrant for an exercise like this. Whatever quadrant you've put it in is probably fine, because these are all different ways of saying pretty similar things. But I find that they jog people's brains a little bit, and they'll give us more information than they would have. So for example, I'm going to put a sticky now in what I wish I knew, but it could also be an unanswered question. Either way, that's fine. So I'm going to say, do people try to build furniture alone? Remember, we had that question of sometimes building is a two-person job. Are people frequently trying to build it themselves? Are they trying to build it in teams? How do they approach building it? I'm putting that in as something I wish I knew, because it's something that would affect possible solutions to this problem. What are some assumptions we have about people? Well, maybe we tend to assume that people own some simple tools like hammers. If you think about some of the things that IKEA has you build, they assume you've got a hammer. Maybe not everybody has a hammer. That's something that we're assuming that we don't know for sure. And that could be interesting to reveal through some research. What tools do people tend to own? Do they tend to go out and buy tools because they bought something from IKEA and they feel stuck? These are some cool things that we could learn. I'm even going to write that down too. I wish I knew. Do people buy tools after buying unbuilt furniture? What about you? What stickies would you like to put up on this board? What do you wish you knew? Maybe now, what about potentially outdated or incorrect information? That's great if someone says, well, look, we surveyed people, and I say, cool, when did you survey them? And they go, 2019, and I go, oh wow, we're a whole pandemic later. You know, times have changed, the economy changed, attitudes changed, where people live has changed a little bit. That could be outdated. Your information could have been correct once upon a time. Now it might be outdated. Let's put it in that quadrant. So Ralita wonders, would people pay to have IKEA furniture pre-built for them? And I guess pre-built and just delivered. We don't know. We also don't know. Here's a good question I'll drop next to hers, which is, what percentage of IKEA customers, and this ties into what Alia was saying, pay for building services? Does this happen a lot? Rarely? Sorry, some comments came up and I forgot to read them. Karen is here. How are you, Karen? I would like to know what people do with the old furniture. Maybe it's an opportunity for our company to provide a service for removal of old furniture. I love that. That's great. I'm going to put that in what I wish I knew. How do people get rid of old furniture? And it could be anything. We could find that they, I'm spelling everything wrong today, I'm sorry. We could find that they sell it, they give it away, they burn it, they illegally dump it, they give it to charity. I've given my old furniture to charity. Great question, Karen. Carla says, hi, I did this last week with the Squad's product managers. Yay! I love it. Carla, how did it go? I love seeing some of my approaches being used in real life. And again, if people want to know more, a lot of this comes from chapter 18 of my new book, Customers Know You Suck. Here it is. So please do buy it. All right. What else are people writing. Let's see. How do we know or find out in advance if instructions are clear? That's a super question. I love that. Are we doing any usability testing or some sort of testing of the instructions? Are we observing people building our furniture and seeing where they get stuck? This is such a wonderful, wonderful place for observational research. So much better than asking people, hey, have you ever gotten stuck building IKEA furniture? Just watch them. All of your questions will be answered. Love that. This is a great one. People assemble furniture with plenty of space. So true. I have lived in very small city apartments, embarrassingly small city apartments. I'm sure some of you live there now, and you go, where am I going to build this? Out in the street? What about getting things up to an apartment? Not everybody has an elevator. How are they going to get it up to the floor where they live? How do people get unbuilt boxes up to the right floor? Oh my gosh, when I bought this standing desk, I had to carry it up 3 flights of steps. It's 70 pounds, and I had to do that myself. That day hurt. What do people feel when they get stuck? Okay, so I'm going to caution people a little bit on some of this feeling stuff because I know that it's something that people think they want to know, but I would challenge you, once we know that, so what? Okay, people are frustrated, they're upset, they're angry, they feel whatever. So what? How are you going to solve the problem differently if they're frustrated versus angry? How are you going to solve the problem differently if they're crying versus not crying? So be careful of focusing on some of this, how do people feel? It's very common when people are thinking about research or thinking about journey maps, they say, well, what do people feel? And I say, tell me why what they feel matters. We know this is a negative experience. Why do we need to pinpoint the exact negative emotion here? Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. So I would just challenge you in a critical thinking way. Does it matter what people feel? We know this is a negative experience. We know it feels bad. How would knowing how they feel change what we do? I like this one. Do people take stock of everything in the package? Right. Are they opening up the box and going, oh, I have 6 of these screws, and I have these washers, and I have 1 of these and 7 of these? Yes, maybe people aren't doing that. And maybe they are. I love it. Is IKEA coming up with new ways to convey instructions like AR? So again, we're pretending we work for IKEA and we're pretending this is our job. So, we were pretending we work there, and let's say we know they're not, and it's our team's job to come up with that. So yes, if we didn't work for IKEA, we might need to try to figure that out, but we're pretending we work there and we would know this. How long will assembly take with my level of expertise? Yeah, that's interesting. Are there people who have kind of become IKEA experts and they're faster and more efficient than others? And that's another observational research gem. What does it look like when we observe newbies building IKEA furniture, people with a little experience building IKEA furniture, and people who've built a lot of IKEA furniture building IKEA furniture? I bet we could learn something from the so-called experts that we could use to inform the newer people and build that knowledge into whatever solutions we come up with. That's like when Larry talks about knowledge design, and you can watch the knowledge design video over on YouTube in our micro lessons playlist. Carla says, good. 1 p.m. questioned why I didn't apply the RICE framework for deciding on prioritization, but the tricky thing is we don't know what UXR activity or method and how much effort it would take. Cool. All right. So again, as an example, we're just doing this for practice. You could be doing this at your job, as Carla has tried. And so, Ralitza's got a great point here. Are there printing errors or illustration errors in some of the IKEA instructions? Is there wrong information in the instructions? Love it. Good thinking, Ralitza. Marjolaine is here, and model needs to be reassembled, and that time out of catalog with older, outdated parts. Okay, similar stuff to what Ralitza was saying, I think. Janice is working on how are small parts shipped. Okay, so if we have to give someone a replacement part, how does that happen? Because that has to do with our internal logistics. How is that part ordered, picked, packed, shipped? How long does it take for people to get it? Is this a reasonable amount of time or an unreasonable amount of time? That's a whole separate part of our service design adventure. This is definitely a service design adventure. You know, this is the kind of problem where we can't just say, oh, let's make an app. You know, a lot of times when you've gone through a UX course or a boot camp, the answer is magically build an app. But in this case, I don't think the answer is build an app. Sure, we could come up with, we could say a solution is AR or VR. We could say it's videos. We could say it's something in an app. But that's not all. That's not going to solve all of the things that are going on here, both for our customers and for the company and people who work at the company. That's where we start thinking service design. It's that more holistic look at how we improve all of this for everyone that's involved, not just the users and the customers, people at our company as well. And as Janice pointed out, we might need to look at how our company deals with sending out replacement parts. We also need to take a look at our company's quality assurance process for rolling things off the factory line. QA, let's write factory line QA. Why so many defects? That's an unanswered question. Why do we have so many IKEA packages that have the wrong instructions or the wrong or missing parts or weren't correctly drilled, so now you can't even connect the pieces? I've definitely had incorrectly drilled stuff. I've definitely been short parts. Why does that happen so often? That's a whole project to internally look at what is going wrong. And again, that's not just for one person to solve. That's why a lot of this, especially in service design, ends up collaborative. We've got to work with other teams and departments and maybe even buildings and offices and cities as to why our factory is not having more success. All right, now remember, when you've got this many questions, the goal is to use something like this to impress upon your team the importance of research. We can't just usability test a few things. We can't just Figma this. We have so many unanswered questions. Take a look at this board right now. The conversation to have with your team is we're not ready to come up with solutions. We have too many things that we don't know before we can dream of coming up with solutions. So this is where we try to impress or share with others the value of that research, whether that research is internal interviews or observing customers building, whether there's a survey we could run, whether there's other stuff we can look into, whether there's visits we need to make to a customer support team or a factory. Now again, I'm thinking service design. I'm not just thinking digital design. I'm not thinking how do we solve this by changing IKEA's website. That's digital design. I'm pretending we are service designers today. So remember, we are thinking big, big, big with something like this, but I want to challenge us in these shows to think about these big things and not just the digital design of how would we make or change an app or a website. And yeah, ultimately your job at a company might be whatever part of this is an app or a website, because maybe you're just in a digital design team. But we should still be thinking of that big picture. All right, so yeah, we should not be solutioning yet because there's too much stuff we don't know. But because this is a 1 hour show or hour and a half show, we're going to pretend, and this is where we have to pretend, that we've done research and we have some information, and we are going to brainstorm some solutions a little bit. So remember, thinking about these things and pretending our research questions have been answered, and thinking about the original problem. Remember, don't lose sight of the original problem. The original problem was building this furniture is hard. we have these root causes, and we want to make sure our solution ideas or concepts or possibilities directly address these root causes. If we are not solving the right problems, we're not solving the right problems. Let's see. Alia says, can you give some resources to learn more about service design? Yes, we've done 2 shows on service design here. So you can find them on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and write Delta CX Service Design. There was a show we did about 2 years ago, and there was a show we did a few months ago. And these will tell you more about what service design is. Other than that, I'm in a service design course now, but I'm not loving it, so I'm not sure I'm going to recommend it. And I've heard about some books, but I haven't read them yet. So I have to say, for now, Google service design. There's a lot of good resources out there. Do be careful, because some people in service design right now are throwing around words like design thinking. And ultimately, design thinking can be very garbagey. Just stay focused on user-centered design and human-centered design, and don't get caught up in what's design thinking and what's not. Ultimately, you can't workshop your way to this. Workshops are part of service design, but the research is really at the core of it. Answering all of those unanswered questions is at the core of solving these root causes, and probably some new ones that we'll find in research, which means come on back and update your map. Okay, so that brings us to the last exercise for our time together. And again, you wouldn't do all 3 of these on the same day. You would do the first one and maybe the second one together. But now there is a gap in time where the research has to be done. The research has to be planned and conducted and analyzed and synthesized. And now we're coming back together to see if we want to brainstorm around our problem space based on everything that we've learned in research. And we imagine that the researcher or research team has shared all of that out. They've made the videos available, they've made their insights available, they've made their artifacts and maps and task analysis available. So we're pretending that that's happened. Thank you, Alia. So we're now going to brainstorm, pretending that the research has been done. So pretending we have knowledge that we don't. We're just going to play along just for the sake of learning the technique. And we're going to brainstorm things that solve this problem and these root causes. So remember, focus on things that will solve this problem and these root causes, but put them where they're going to help the most. Are there things that are going to only help the business, but not really help the customer? Like some of that saving environmental damage, it helps the business. It doesn't directly solve the customer's problem. So some of that environmental stuff might go in the helps the business bucket, and that's okay. We're not afraid to do things that help the business but don't help the customer. We just don't want to do things that help the business and work against the customer. So look out for those when you're facilitating. Then what about some things that might help the customer but maybe don't have a huge benefit to the business? You might still have ideas like that. Put them in the helps customers bucket in the middle. And finally, on the right side, we've got helps both. Can we think of an idea or a potential solution or a concept that really does improve the original problem or some of these root causes for everybody? And that way we can put these in different buckets and just be clear when we're helping one group and not another, or when there's a really nice win-win. So let's take a look back at our root causes and some of our problems. So let's see. What are some things that could be improved that we could recommend as a possible thing? Well, what about under helps both, and maybe you disagree with me, but what about IKEA creates video tutorials? Even if they're silent movies with no language. There could be silent movies and no language, or someone says, I'm holding this up, watch me put it over here, or in multiple languages. You know, what would it cost to shoot one video and then voice it over in 12 languages? I don't know. Could be worth it. You know, if we find that it solves our problem and saves the company money, maybe it's worth it. We don't know. This is where we eventually have to do some of the math on something, a solution like that, and we have to decide, is it a priority? Oh, sorry, my internet's blipping a little bit. I was saying we have to think about it. Does a solution like that make sense for the customer? Does it make sense for the company? Is it worth it? Is it something we want to experiment with? Maybe we take the 10 most popular IKEA products and we see if making walkthrough videos saves us on customer support calls or saves us on returns. There's got to be some ways to measure that. Let's see, what else can we think of that are that would be helpful? Oh, Shawshank says if the video is easy to access, then yes. If the user has to search for it, then maybe scan a QR code. Okay, that's a good point. Let me add that as a little sub note under here. Scan QR code in instruction manual for video. So maybe we make sure that if people have the instruction manual, they have an easy way to find that video, perhaps a QR code, perhaps something else. But yeah, that's a nice touch. Thanks for that. Good. Thank you again for thinking about ways to help this be a no-brainer and efficient for the user. All right, let's see. Ralitsa says pick up and deliver on demand. Okay, so maybe do you mean picking up? I mean, because people can already pick up from IKEA and some IKEAs deliver. So do you mean picking up and delivering completed furniture? That could be a thing. Maybe update your sticky if you mean completed furniture. Let me see. What else do we have? Parts not clearly labeled, match with drawing. Okay, so I had an idea where parts bags labeled with letter. You know, sometimes they say like screw E, but then they don't put an E on the bag it came in. So you're like, which screw is screw E? I haven't built IKEA in a while. Do the bags of parts still come without you knowing which letter they go with? Because that would be great if we could label those with a letter and help people know these are the E screws, these are the D screws, stuff like that. Shawshank says maybe a 3D furniture building game users can practice before attempting it. You can put that on helps customers, but I'm not convinced it does, because what do we think? And again, we would learn this from research, but right now we're guessing, we're pretending. What do people want to play the IKEA furniture building game before building the furniture? My guess would be no. My guess would be that they want this to be a fast, easy, logical, intuitive experience, and they don't want to add to their task by having to play the furniture building game or having to build the item once in virtual reality and once in physical reality. So while your idea is certainly something you can put on the board, it's just my gut feeling here, and our research would tell us this, but it's my gut feeling that it's not a strong idea and it's not something people would want to spend their time on. Malika says QR could also bring you to report missing parts and how to get to the parts page. Okay, that's a good idea. If that's not up there, let's put it up. Pick up and deliver on demand. Part missing. Excuse me. So I'll add what Malika's saying, which would be a QR code to easy report damaged item or request exchange or missing parts, something like that. Obviously, remember, there's a reason why I do the brainstorming as ideas on sticky notes and not drawing screens. Notice some of these won't be screens. Some of these are the instruction manual. Some of these are going to be digital, in that the QR code might lead you to a website where you easily get a missing or replacement part. So I don't like to do brainstorming or workshops where people draw screens. I just like to collect ideas, because how that idea ends up, there's endless possibilities, and I don't want us to feel stuck with one possibility just because someone drew a screen that looks like that. So my workshop style is more of brainstorming ideas rather than, and it looks and works exactly like this, I drew it. Also because not everybody is good at drawing screens, feels comfortable drawing screens, etc. Janice says, what if people could borrow missing tools? Yeah, that's an interesting thing. What if IKEA had a sort of tool rental service that was very discounted, for $1 a day, for $2 a day, you could borrow a hammer from us, or whatever the case may be. Bringing it back, of course, is its own thing. And we also have to remember that not everybody lives close to their IKEA. When I lived in Tucson, Arizona, the closest IKEA was Tempe, Arizona, which sounds close alphabetically, but was 90 miles away. So I would certainly not be a tool borrower, because I do not want to drive 90 miles to give them back a hammer. So there's that. But I'm going to add something to Janice's idea, if Janice doesn't mind, which is partnership with home improvement store. Now notice that is an extremely general idea. It's lacking in specifics. It could end up being a lot of different things. What if IKEA had a partnership, and I'm talking America right now, with a Lowe's or a Home Depot to either rent those tools or help people out in some way, because chances are you might live closer to a Lowe's or a Home Depot than you do to an IKEA. So what if there's a partnership there? Shashank says, interactive storyboard to make them familiar with the parts, if not a game. Stop saying everything's a game. Really, ultimately, a lot of studies have shown that people don't always love games and gamification. And it doesn't make sense to say just turn everything into a game. This game isn't fun. Nobody is going to be like, I played the IKEA Build a Billy bookcase game, and boy, was that freaking fun. It's just not. It's just not. Ralitza says, I came up with the tools thing. Oh, sorry. Okay, I thought that was Janice. Okay. Sorry, I know there's a way where I can right-click on this and do info and see who made it. So, yes, thank you. I saw Janice floating around there. Option that furniture parts come with tools for people who don't have. Yeah, that's maybe we sell people a little package of common IKEA tools you're going to need. You're going to need a hammer. Here's the cheapest drill we could sell you in case a hole's not correct. Here's a couple of other things. Sure, that's an idea. Inventory management scanner for customers and employees. Mobile phone app, maybe. Okay. Yeah, and again, maybe. We don't know if that's the best way to do it. Find way to connect people willing to help each other locally. Yeah, sure, that could be like Nextdoor or TaskRabbit, or people doing it for free or for not free. Solomon says 90 miles to give back a hammer. That's a dedicated customer. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't. What else can we think of? Let's go back and look at those root causes and think about how we can fix them. Okay, we talked about tools. We had a few ideas for tools. We talked about parts not being labeled very well. I have a question. I'm going to put it under helps both. But what if does IKEA, and I don't know this, and this would go under unanswered questions, but I'm going to put it here just in case. It should be part of our research. Does IKEA weigh the package before it leaves the factory? Because if it's missing a part, it should weigh less. Maybe that's just by some grams or ounces. Maybe they need to weigh not the package, but the bag of parts. Because people might say, oh, look, it's wood. It's going to have slight variations in weight. You can't really know. Okay, but what about the parts? The metal should weigh uniformly. Then we might know if we're missing a part because the weight is off. I don't know if they do this, but just in case, weigh the parts. That would probably go back up in the unanswered questions. I'd like to know, does IKEA do this? Carla says IKEA in Portugal partners with TaskRabbit for assembling. Yes, there certainly are those partnerships, and maybe there's opportunities for other ones as well. Sell returned items for a discount. Yeah, you never see IKEA seconds or IKEA this thing was returned. This stuff just seems to disappear. So you're right. It could save the company some money to not have to destroy things or throw them away. Just figure out what's wrong with them, fix them up, and sell at a discount. I like it. Thank you. Excuse me. Outsource repair and assembly services to locally trained citizens who are interested or good at it. Yeah, IKEA does partner with TaskRabbit in some places, but that doesn't mean you're getting somebody great at it. You don't totally know. What if somebody were IKEA certified? IKEA could come up with some sort of certified builder certificate, and those people could say, yep, I really know IKEA stuff well, and I know how to build it well. Yeah, I like that. Oh, excuse me. Oh. Low energy COVID. Yeah. Now, I've got another call coming up in a half hour, so I can't run too late today. So let's just talk more generally about this approach, and it's something we're going to do in other shows. If you have a topic you'd like to play around with, just send it to deltacx.com/links. You'll see a Think Out Loud submission form, so do that. Yeah, some certification. That's an idea, too. This is a great job, everybody. Remember, this is totally fake, and we're totally guessing, but it gives you an idea of how when you come across these types of problems or projects in your work or freelancing or consulting, you can use some of these tools and approaches to start to get organized and go down a path of good CX and UX. And some credits to the people who help out. Yep. So let's go back to a giant picture of me. Yes, I still have fake eyelashes for those wagering, and still have COVID, but feeling okay. So remember, we have 2 shows tomorrow. I'll be doing Office Hours Ask Me Anything at 10 a.m. Italy time for those in the later time zones, and then I'll be doing it at 6:30 p.m. with special guest John N.A. Brown. So if you have questions, join tomorrow and ask them. You can ask some ahead of time by going to the Office Hours link at deltacx.com/links. Karen says, thank you for your energy. Oh, you're welcome. I'm lucky I have it. I'm definitely lower energy, but I'm luckily feel like I have good cognition, just some low energy, so I'm not getting as much work done, but at least we can still do our shows. Let's see what else is coming this week for shows. Hey, Wednesday we start the book club, y'all. We're going to start the book club for Customers Know You Suck. You should have read the first 3 chapters, and I'll be there live to take your questions and discuss it with you. It won't be live here on YouTube since I know some people might not want to speak freely there. It's going to be on Remo. So just check the events calendar, which is at deltacx.com/links, or check the Slack or Discord channels for live events for how to join in. So don't forget, book club starts Wednesday. Yes, I unfortunately got COVID on my trip to America. It's mostly coughing. We otherwise feel pretty well. We've been pretty lucky, I would have to say. We got a pretty mild version. And we did get married successfully. So new ring, same people. Thank you everybody for the get well wishes. Thank you. Oop, this way. I'm getting better. Here in Italy, they said 2 days after you no longer have, 5 days after you no longer have symptoms, test to see if you're negative, and if you are, you can go out into the world. But I am still coughing like this, so I consider myself to have symptoms. So we are isolating. Any other thoughts or questions about these exercises and this approach? Because I really hope people will try it on their projects and at their job. Thanks to Carla for giving it a whirl, and certainly open to feedback. And Janice says, yay, congrats to you and Pier Mario. Thank you. Dr. Seth stole the show. It was a karaoke party. Dr. Seth and Oz stole the show. Yeah, thanks to everybody for the well wishes of all kinds. More Ricola, not sponsored. All right, so remember, Think Out Loud is going to be every other week. If you'd like to send in an idea or a problem statement or something that you'd like to see me and others work on, just send it in. There's no charge. It's, if it makes sense, we'll do it. But these shows will be every other week, and same for critical thinking streams on Friday. They'll be every other week on opposite weeks. So this week, no critical thinking stream. Next week, no Think Out Loud. Yes, critical thinking stream. So just go here and check the events calendar so you'll see all the streams. Shawshank says the 3 activities we did were at different stages of research, right? Yeah, these are definitely at different stages of the project. We start out with the impact map to take a look at something we know is a problem, but we want to write more details about it and also show the business, prove to the business, why do we want to do a project about this? How will it help the customers, but how will it help the business? Because the business mostly cares about what's in it for them. Once we have that, then we can do the second board, which is, okay, what don't we know? What are our unanswered questions? Where might we have outdated information that could end up pushing our solutions in the wrong direction? And when we see that, we would then use that board to plan our research. All your research planning. What kind of research are we doing? What kinds of participants do we need? How many of them? How are we going to interact with them? Is this interviews, observations, surveys? Are we doing more than one of those because of what we need to learn? What about internal interviews or site visits or stakeholders? So the second board helps us plan the research. Then we're going to do the research. Then the last board is for brainstorming now that the research has well informed us. This would replace your traditional design sprint or design thinking workshop, because first we'll make sure everybody is well informed and has access to all of the research stuff. Then we're going to brainstorm some ways that we might solve the original problems and any new problems that we learned about in research. So that's why these things are happening at different times. Ralitz says, while 2 is input for 3, I think you can do 3 based on root causes only as well. You could, but you are guessing. So you just have to remember the risk of guessing, because we could have gone straight from root causes to how are we going to solve this. And a lot of teams do that now for speed. But if we want to put quality over speed, it would have been better if we already knew stuff. We probably would have brainstormed more ideas and better ideas if we had some research insights and artifacts that helped inform us and answer those unanswered questions. So while you can do that, I don't suggest that you do that. I would suggest that people do the research and not skip the research. Too often we skip the research, but then we're missing out on internal knowledge of how we do things. We're missing out on customer intelligence. So again, that research doesn't have to be 4 months long. Maybe it's 6 weeks. It can go relatively fast. Maybe it's just a few sprints long, but it's still worth it. It's important. Otherwise, we're guessing at what the user experience is. We're guessing at our internal stuff, and then we're guessing how to fix that. And that's just a guessing sandwich. I meant in the sense that you can identify the issue and advocate a research project related to those. Oh, Yeah, look, you can try anything based on what I'm showing. These are just my particular suggestions of how it might work, but everybody try it. If you have a real project, give it a try, and you can always make your own variation of what I'm showing. Nobody has to take my ideas or my models and follow them to the letter as if this is the Bible. You can definitely make your own changes if you find that they work better. That's it. You know, as I say in my book, these things in my book are a starting point for you. And you might even find that how you do it at the job you're at now is different than how you do it at your next job, because there's just differences in the way the teams and other things work. So, you know, keep going with the flow and pushing against the flow and trying to make change. All right. I'm going to sing us out of here. No, I'm not. I can't. I shouldn't sing right now. I'm going to Ricola us out of here. Oh, Ralitza says, for example, you know root cause you identify as good for both the business and the consumers. You get examples proving your point, and then you do the project, and it can answer your questions. Give it a try. Yes, why not? All right. Sorry, everybody. We're running late, and I've got a call in 20 minutes. Thank you so much for coming by and trying this out with me. I think we did a good job with a completely fake project, as best as we could do, making it up and guessing. And we'll try another one in 2 weeks, so send something in. Thanks, everybody. And if you have COVID, get well soon. And if you don't have it, please don't get it. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are